Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another testimony. It is rather long. I don't know if I'm going to do part one or part two, but I guess when I feel led to stop and continue later, that's what I'll do. So this testimony is about my son, how God spared his life. And 2004, I was stationed in Darmstadt, Germany, and I was engaged to be married. And this was after the Hale testimony. I got back into church, and my at the time fiance, he lived with us. He lived with me and my son, and we were planning to get married. I'm excited. I got my man, I got my baby, and one day I was making the baby some bath water after work, and I heard my son scream real loud, and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Nothing. He just acting up, And when he brought the baby in to be bathed, I didn't see any marks or bruises on him. So I gave him his bath, and we continued our evening as usual. And so I had went to drop him off at daycare and everything, and went to work. And the day I went to daycare, I usually would go on my lunch break to the daycare center to see him, because I just, when you're a new mom, you just can't get enough of your baby. And I was one of those moms, and I would go on my lunch break and visit my baby and just hug him and love on him. And so when I went, there was like hardly anybody in there. There was like maybe one person for all these babies. And I picked up my son, and I noticed he had bruising on his stomach, and I'm like, what the heck then happened here? Oh, heck no. And so when I tell the daycare center about these bruising, they try to flip the switch and say, "Oh, you brought him in here like that." And I'm like, "No, I didn't. No, this is, you guys neglected my child, because y'all didn't have enough people in here. Most of y'all had left or was gone to some meeting." And I was pissed, and I told my fiance about it. And he's like, "Just let it go, Keisha, just drop it." And I'm like, "No, somebody hurt our son, and they're gonna pay." So I'm going off. I'm out there, I'm like, "I demand videotape. I want to see what happened." And so they call my chain of command and tell my bosses that something has happened to the child, but they're not taking responsibility. And next thing I know, I gotta go to child caring classes. And I'm like, why I gotta go to child caring classes? I didn't do nothing wrong to him. We didn't do nothing. This is you guys. So I was beyond pissed. I was upset. I was so angry. And my son was clingy to me because I always spent time with him, or I was holding him. So this lady's over at our house, and this is what you need to do, and telling me, "Look at the baby, that's the baby bonding with you," acting like I don't know what I'm doing. And it was so frustrating. I was so pissed, because I'm like, here I am being reprimanded, and I didn't even do anything. It just didn't make any sense to me. So we getting questioned and everything, because they believe the daycare center. And so we're starting to get questioned, and all this stuff. And they were like, "Well, your fiance has confessed to hurting the baby." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "What did you do? What happened? Why did you tell them that did you touch him? And he's like, no, but they was trying to make it out to seem like you had done something wrong. So I was like, I'm just going to say I did it to take the fall. And I was like, why did you do that? That was so stupid, but the reality was he really did touch him, but I didn't believe him. I believed his lie, so here I am defending him, and I'm so angry and I'm pissed. And we go into child caring classes and all of that. And, we got a social worker, we got to prove ourselves. And I'm just like, this is some bull beep. I was like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this is happening to me right now. And I had to go to these, like I said, these parenting classes, and they would come to our house and look around our house and things like that. And I'm just like, this is some bull. This is some bull. So, weeks go by, and I'm still demanding the videotape from the daycare center. I am still, and they're just looking at me like, ma'am, you need to take it down a notch. We didn't do that. So, my baby was fine. His marks went away. They couldn't explain what really happened. So, that was it on the medical side. But, even with that, they was like, you need to make sure you're coming in for his checks. And I was already doing that. So I'm like, man, this is some crap. So weeks go by, months go by, and we're about to get married. And I call my auntie and I'm like, hey, I'm about to get married next month, And my aunt says, well, I'm going to pray that the Lord reveal him to you before you get married. I did not know that what was about to be revealed was going to be revealed. I mean, God heard her prayer, because a couple nights later, the week that I went back to church, the first lady was telling me, she had prophesied over me, and she was like, you need to read Psalm 91 for 7 days. And I just said, okay, and she was like, here, take my phone number in case you need to call. So I'm like, all right. And that weekend was going to be July 4th weekend. And so I was pregnant with our second child. I was pregnant. So the second baby was tearing me up. I was so tired, and my fiance would come in and take care of the baby and, clean the house. And I'm just like, oh, affirming, that I'm so happy, like, this is why I'm marrying this man. This man takes care of his family. I didn't got a good one. That's what I'm thinking, And I went to sleep as usual, and I was dreaming, and there was these tall black demons over my baby. And while I'm having that dream, my fiance comes in and he's shaking me. He's shaking me out of my sleep, and he's saying, Keisha, I dropped the baby. And I, got up and rushed up to, the baby. And my son was only 4 months old. He was laying on the couch, and his arm was limp. When I picked him up, he had bruises on both sides of his arm. And at that moment, I knew that my fiance abused him. And now I'm scared, because I'm like, I don't even know who's sitting in front of me. He was sitting across from me on the couch, and I'm like, I don't even know who this man is, because it's obvious he hurt this baby, and I'm holding my son for dear life. And I'm looking at him and looking at his arms and things like that, and I'm like, what happened? And my fiance at the time, he looked at me in my eyes and said, I don't know. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And I'm just like, well, something happened, because there's bruisings on his arms. and his arm is limp. He said, I was making him a bottle, and I was holding him, and I dropped him, and he must have fell on his side. Well, first of all, why didn't you say that to begin with? And second, it was a lie, because he had red bruises. My son is light skinned, and he had red bruises on both sides. So it was obvious to me that he squeezed him. He squeezed him into his arm fracture. And I was like, we got to take him to the hospital. But in Germany, I didn't want to take the chance of dealing with the staff, because I already knew, like, it's going to be a long day, because this is obviously child abuse. He's abused our son. And yes, before you ask, was it his son? Yes, it was our son. We made together, his own child. And he hurt. I just wanted to keep him calm, because when I mentioned the hospital, he didn't want to go. And I'm like, we're going to go to Heidelberg. Heidelberg was like 45 minutes away from us. But we went to Heidelberg because that's where he was born. He was born in a military hospital. And he was like, just wait. And I was like, okay, if by 6 o'clock his arm is not moving, we got to take him. Well, I got to go. He was like, I got to go to work. And I was like, well, not today. You're not going to work today, because you got to explain this. You know what I mean? Like, he was trying to get out of it. He knew what he did, So by 6 o'clock, and, during the time of, when I woke up and all this was going on, it was about 3 a.m. And, the gas stations there didn't stay all, open all night like it does here. And I didn't have enough gas to get to Heidelberg. But I just want to keep him calm anyway, because I'm like, I don't know if he's going to try to attack me. I don't know what he's capable of now, because he's looked me dead in my face and lied, and he's hurt our son. I just want to keep him calm and get us to the hospital safely by any means. So, it was 6 when we got to the hospital, and I'm like, and I tell them, and the doctors, immediately, they're calling the police, and the police are there, and my mom called, and she's on the phone, because I'm like, something that happened to Raphael. And, we already had a social worker and all that. So they contacted them back in Darmstadt. And it was like, because this is a child abuse situation, we are going to have to take the baby. And once my mom heard that, she just started bawling. And I'm trying to keep her calm. And they're like, we're going to, just keep him for the weekend, just for 4 days. And you'll get him back, on Tuesday. So I'm pissed, but I'm like, we'll get him back on Tuesday. Well, it's going to be okay. I'm trying to calm myself. So it's not really hitting that they're going to take my son from me and put him in, like a foster home. Well, to have someone to watch him, during the 4 days, like a foster parent, And I couldn't, of course, know where my son was going to be. And they took, it wasn't until they came and took him from me, that's when I was bawling. I was crying, and uncontrollably, I couldn't believe it. And they put my ex-fiance, because like once he did that, the relationship was over. There was no going back. They put him back in the barracks, and he was on suicide watch. And I went back to an empty house without my baby, and no longer about to get married. And I was just depressed. And me and my mom talked for like 9 hours straight, going over the situation again and everything. And she said, isn't there someone you can talk to? And I said, you know what? The first lady gave me her phone number. I went to church Sunday and she gave me her phone number. She said, you should call her. And I called her, and I couldn't get out all the situation. I just said, they took the baby. They took the baby. And she started waking up her husband, and she said, we got to go. We got to go. And they drove 45 minutes from where they were to my house in prayer. And when they prayed for me and prayed for the baby. And she said, hey, what did the Holy Spirit tell you on Sunday? And I said to read Psalm 91 for 7 days. And she said, well, did you do it? And I said, I read to Wednesday, but it didn't apply to me. So, I stopped. And she was like, you got a Bible here? I said, yes, ma'am, I got a Bible. And we got the Bible. And she started reading it. And I just broke down. Because that's when it clicked that God was warning me. He knew what was coming. And he was trying to let me know that he was going to be with me. And he was letting me know he was going to be with me. He knew what was coming. And, that was just the beginning of what I was getting ready to go through. It was a hard time. She prayed for my ex-fiance. She prayed for the baby. She prayed for me. She prayed for my mom. I had to pack him some clothes, the baby some clothes so the foster mom would have some clothes with him. And I packed the best, from what his grandmother sent, over, because I wanted them to know that I loved him. I didn't hurt my baby. I loved my son. I've been waiting for that boy. I miscarried when I was 19. I miscarried my first pregnancy. So, when I found out I was pregnant with this one, I was like scared and nervous, and I had placenta previa. I had been on bed rest. I had, stuff going on to have this baby, and now he was gone, and all I could hear was fireworks, because it was July 4th weekend, and here I was going through all this drama, and they had taken my baby from me. So I'm not gonna cry. It's trying to come up, but it gets better. God is blessed. So I'm gonna end now, and then I'll come back, but I need a break right here to continue. But trust me, it's worth the watch. God does deliver. He does save, and I get that happy ending because of God. All right, I'll be back.